wedding hall fell into a stunned silence. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The glittering chandeliers trembled slightly as if the room itself was reacting to the moment. Guests dressed in bright Ankara prints and elegant suits were frozen midway through their murmurs, their eyes fixed on the tall, muscular groom who now stood at the center of the aisle. His bride, Amara, a beautiful, caramel-skinned 20-year-old with her natural hair wrapped into a neat bun, stared at him with trembling hands. She looked confused, frightened, and unsure of what was happening. Because the man she believed to be a simple, hardworking local farmer was standing before her in a sharply tailored white tuxedo, surrounded by 8 security escorts. The man she thought she knew had just introduced himself by a completely different name. Moments ago, in a voice deep enough to shake the hall, he had said, "My name is Emmanuel Cole, billionaire heir to the Cole Holdings empire, and I have a confession to make." Chairs scraped, a few aunties nearly fainted. One of the groomsmen dropped his microphone. But Emmanuel didn't flinch. He stood tall, broad shoulders, strong jaw, and the kind of sculpted frame that came from years of gym training. Nothing about him resembled a poor local farmer anymore. Amara slowly stepped back, her lips parting in disbelief. What do you mean?" she whispered. "Emmanuel, what are you saying?" He walked closer to her, his expression soft but determined. "I never meant to deceive you, Amara. I only wanted to be loved for who I really am, not for my money." The murmurs grew louder. "You loved me when I had nothing. You married me thinking I was an ordinary farm worker. You didn't know the truth." Amara's eyes glistened. "Why now? Why reveal this today, on our wedding day?" "Because someone here," he said, turning slowly toward the crowd, "knows the truth and planned to expose me in the worst way possible." A collective gasp swept across the hall, heads turned. "Who?" someone shouted. But Emmanuel didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a sealed red envelope, the type that usually carried secrets powerful enough to start wars within families. Amara held her breath. The hall was so silent that even the sound of a pin drop might have echoed like thunder. Emmanuel lifted the envelope. "Inside this," he said, "is the reason I had to hide my identity, the real reason I moved to that small village pretending to be a farmer, the reason I had to escape my own world." He stared at Amara with tenderness. "And the reason you are now in danger." The crowd erupted, questions, accusations, confusion. But Emmanuel's eyes did not leave his bride. "Before I open this," he said, "I need you to know, everything started the day I left my mansion behind and walked into that village for the first time." He paused. "And nothing has been the same since." The drums outside suddenly stopped. Even the winds felt as though they had halted to listen. Then, Emmanuel tore open the red envelope. The hall lights flickered. Amara covered her mouth. The crowd leaned forward. But before anyone could see what was inside, the entire hall went black. Screams filled the air. Someone shouted, "What is happening?" Children cried, chairs overturned, guests panicked, and the sound of footsteps scrambling filled the darkness. Then a single voice, cold, familiar, dangerous, echoed through the pitch-black hall. "Emmanuel, you should never have revealed the truth." And just as the lights blinked faintly, revealing only silhouettes, a hand grabbed Amara out of the darkness. She screamed, "Amara!" Emmanuel lunged forward instinctively, but a heavy blow struck him from the side. He staggered, blood filling his mouth, unable to see who had hit him. By the time the lights came back on fully, Amara was gone. Taken. Kidnapped from her own wedding. The crowd was in chaos. Emmanuel stood frozen, his fists clenched, his chest rising and falling with fury. And then, as he looked down, he saw something on the floor. The torn red envelope, empty. Whatever secret was inside had vanished. Whatever truth he was about to reveal, someone did not want Amara, or anyone else, to hear it. Emmanuel lifted his head slowly, rage carving shadows across his muscular face. "No one," he growled, "takes my wife from me." He turned toward the terrified guests, his eyes blazing. "You want to know who I really am," he said. "Then let me start from the beginning before the kidnappers return." The hall was silent. The truth was coming. And it would change everything. Long before the wedding chaos, long before Amara was dragged into the darkness, Emmanuel Cole was a man running from a life most people would die to have. 3 years earlier, he had stood on the balcony of his penthouse in Atlanta, overlooking a skyline filled with towers his father owned. The world knew him as the billionaire son of Cole Holdings, handsome, muscular, powerful, and born into everything. But Emmanuel felt like a prisoner. Every woman who smiled at him saw dollar signs, every friend he made had a hidden agenda. Every business decision he made was questioned by relatives waiting for him to fail so they could take over the empire. He wanted peace, he wanted love, he wanted something real. And something terrifying had happened to push him over the edge. One evening, after a meeting gone wrong, he found a message slipped under his office door: no fingerprints, no evidence, just a single sheet of white paper. It read, "The heir must fall." At first, he dismissed it as one of the countless threats wealthy families receive. But the following week, the brakes of his luxury car failed while he was driving on the highway. The next day, someone poisoned his personal chef. And a week after that, his own cousin accidentally shot at him during a hunting trip. It wasn't paranoia anymore. Someone wanted him dead. His father urged him to tighten security, but Emmanuel was suffocating, living every day surrounded by guards, cameras, and people who wanted a piece of him. So he disappeared. He shaved his beard, grew out his hair, disguised his voice slightly, and left everything behind except a small backpack and a pocket knife. He left the city. And he drove until the road narrowed into dirt paths, the streetlights faded, and the air became fresh again. A remote village on the outskirts of Enugu State welcomed him with dusty roads, laughter of children playing soccer, and the smell of roasted groundnuts in the air. A place where nobody knew his name. A place where wealth meant nothing. A place where he could finally breathe. At the edge of the village, he found a stretch of farmland badly neglected, overgrown, forgotten, almost dead. The old woman who owned it wanted nothing more than someone willing to bring it back to life. Emmanuel took it immediately. The villagers laughed when they saw the muscular stranger carrying bundles of firewood on his shoulders, digging trenches with sweat running down his arms, waking up before dawn to farm while others still slept. They nicknamed him Nna Oha, meaning father of many, mostly because he helped everyone almost too willingly. Still, nobody really paid him deep attention. To them, he was just a local farmhand with strong arms and no real future. Until the day Amara walked into his life. He remembered it clearly. He was repairing a broken fence when a soft voice behind him said, "Excuse me, sir, do you need help with that?" He turned and the world shifted. A caramel-skinned young woman stood before him wearing a simple yellow dress, her natural hair tucked into a small, neat bun. She carried a woven basket of vegetables from her mother's stall. Her smile was gentle but bright enough to warm even a wounded heart. "No, thank you," he said shyly. "I can manage." But she didn't leave. She watched him for a moment, then walked closer, squinting playfully. "For someone who claims he can manage," she teased, "you're using the wrong tool." He blinked. "I'm using the wrong what?" She took the hammer from his hand and placed the correct one in his palm. "Try again." He laughed softly, the first real laugh he had let out in months. From that moment, Amara kept returning, sometimes with fruits, sometimes with jokes, sometimes just to talk. Unlike the other village girls, she didn't flirt with him because of his muscles or pretend to admire him. She admired his work, his patience, his humility. And slowly, Emmanuel found himself drawn to her more than he expected. One afternoon, while they walked through the village market, he noticed something unusual. 3 men, dressed in simple clothes but walking too strategically, were watching him. Their eyes lingered too long, their steps followed too closely. Emmanuel's heart raced. Could his enemies have traced him here? He quickly guided Amara behind a food stall. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing," he lied, "just let's take another path." But he knew the truth. Danger was not far. And the longer he stayed in the village pretending to be a farmer, the more he risked bringing trouble to the only person who had ever looked at him with pure, honest love. That night, Emmanuel sat alone outside his small hut, staring at the moon while memories of luxury, power, and danger clashed with his new simple life. He couldn't tell Amara who he really was. Not yet. If she knew, would she still love him? The thought tormented him. The next morning, he made a decision. He would leave the village before anyone got hurt. But everything changed when Amara showed up at his doorstep with tears in her eyes. "Emmanuel," she whispered, "my mother is sick. The doctor says she needs treatment we can't afford. Please, I don't know what to do." Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. And Emmanuel felt his entire world tilt. He could save her mother easily with his wealth. But doing that meant revealing everything. His identity. His secrets. His danger. He took a deep breath. "Amara," he said gently, "come inside, there's something I need to tell you." Before he could take another step, loud footsteps thundered outside. A harsh voice shouted, "Where is that farm boy? Show yourself." Emmanuel froze. Amara clutched his shirt. The same three men from the market stormed into the yard. One pointed at Emmanuel. "There he is, the boss wants him alive." Amara gasped. "Emmanuel, who are these people?" His heart pounded. His past had found him. His disguise was falling apart. And Amara stood right beside him, unaware that her entire future was about to change forever. The moment the three strangers stepped into Emmanuel's yard, Amara instinctively moved behind him, her fingers gripping the back of his shirt. The morning sun glimmered across the men's cold faces, and their expressions confirmed what Emmanuel had feared for months. His past had finally caught him. The first man, a tall, hawk-eyed figure with a scar across his cheek, pointed sharply at Emmanuel. "That's him, grab him before he runs." Amara's voice trembled. "Emmanuel, who are these people? Why are they looking for you?" He didn't answer, he couldn't, not now. Instead, he gently pulled her behind him. "Stay back." The men took slow, deliberate steps forward. "You thought you could disappear," the scarred man hissed. "The boss warned you, there's no hiding for a Cole." Emmanuel stiffened, every muscle in his body tightening. They had said it, Cole, his real surname, his real lineage. Amara flinched. "Cole, what does that mean?" Emmanuel still didn't speak. Instead, he stepped into the open, away from Amara, lifting his hands slowly. "You don't need to involve her," he said quietly. "I'll come with you." The men smirked as if pleased. But then one of them noticed Amara. "She heard the name," he said. "She comes too." That was the line. Emmanuel's jaw tightened, his heart pounded. His entire reason for hiding, for breathing, for surviving was standing right behind him. "No," he growled, "she stays out of this." The man laughed. "And who are you to decide? You're not the billionaire anymore, you're just a farmer with—" He never finished the sentence. Emmanuel moved. Fast. Too fast. He grabbed a wooden pole beside the fence and swung it with the strength of a trained fighter, strength the village had always underestimated. The pole cracked against the man's wrist, sending his weapon flying across the dirt. The other two rushed him. Emmanuel dodged a punch, blocked another, then used his weight to slam the second man into the ground. Dust rose in a thick cloud as chaos erupted. The men underestimated him, they thought he was just bulky. They didn't know his muscles were built from years of intense private training, boxing, security drills, and a lifetime spent under the shadow of billion-dollar enemies. The third man lunged forward with a knife. Amara screamed. Emmanuel twisted, grabbed the attacker's arm, and flipped him over his shoulder. The knife skidded across the yard, landing near a cooking pot beside the hut. Silence fell. Emmanuel stood tall, chest rising with heavy breaths. The three men groaned on the ground, alive but defeated. He didn't wait for them to recover. "Amara," he said sharply, "we need to go now." She stared at him, not just frightened but confused, shattered by the sudden shift in reality. "Emmanuel, you're not just a farmer, are you?" He swallowed hard. "No, I'm not." The confession hung in the air like smoke. Sirens began to echo far away, village security responding to the noise. Emmanuel knew he had minutes at best before more men came. The ones sent next wouldn't just grab him, they would eliminate witnesses. He grabbed a small bag from under a clay bench, slung it over his shoulder. It held Amara's hand. "We're leaving the village," he said. "It's the only way to keep you safe." Amara tugged her hand free. No, you will explain, Emmanuel. Who are you? Why are people calling you Cole? Why are they trying to kidnap you? Her voice cracked, hurt mixed with fear. For months she had loved him innocently, simply, fully. Now she was discovering that the man she trusted most had been living two lives. Emmanuel stepped closer, eyes soft. I promised myself I would tell you when I was sure it was safe, but they forced my hand. What does that mean? She whispered. It means, he said slowly, painfully, that I am not Emmanuel Akaro the farmer. My real name is Emmanuel Cole. I'm the only son of Marcus Cole, CEO of Cole Holdings. Amara's breath caught. The Cole Holdings, the billionaire family everyone talks about online. Yes. Her hand covered her mouth, tears welled up. So, everything you told me, everything you showed me, was it all a lie? No, he said urgently. Every moment with you was real. I just didn't want to be loved for my money, for my name. I came here to see what life looked like without bodyguards or fame. I came here to find peace, and I found you. He took her hand again, gently this time. But if you stay here, they will come back, and next time they won't just come for me. Amara shook her head, struggling to process everything. My mother is sick, she whispered. And now you're saying killers are after you, Emmanuel. How does any of this make sense? But before he could answer, a loud voice echoed from across the road. There he is, spread out, don't let him escape with the girl. More men. 10, maybe more. Emmanuel's eyes widened. We don't have time. He pulled Amara behind the hut, toward a narrow footpath that led into the forest. But my mother, Amara cried. I swear I will save her, he said, gripping her shoulders. But if they catch me, you will lose me and she will lose you. Footsteps thundered closer. Emmanuel grabbed her hand and ran. Branches whipped past them, leaves crunched under their feet. The forest swallowed them as shouts grew louder behind them. Amara stumbled, but he caught her. They ran deeper, breathing hard, hearts pounding, until they reached a hidden slope that led down toward a small abandoned charcoal hut. Inside, Emmanuel whispered, they won't find us here. But as soon as he stepped forward, a strong arm reached from behind a tree and wrapped around his throat. Another grabbed Amara. She screamed, kicking wildly. The attackers had set a trap. Emmanuel struggled, his vision blurring as the grip tightened. Did you really think you could hide forever, Cole? The attacker hissed. Amara fought, tears pouring down her face. Let him go. But the man holding Emmanuel tightened his grip even more, forcing him to his knees. Your father should have accepted the deal, the attacker whispered. Now we take you and everything else falls apart. His vision dimmed. Amara screamed his name. Life slipped. And just before Emmanuel blacked out completely, a shotgun blast boomed through the forest. The attackers froze. Someone had fired. Someone unexpected. Someone who knew exactly where they were. The blast tore through the forest like lightning splitting the earth. Birds scattered into the sky and the sharp echo bounced between the trees. The men restraining Emmanuel and Amara froze instantly, their grip loosening just enough for Emmanuel to twist free and gasp for air. The forest fell into sudden, tense silence. Then, heavy footsteps approached, slow, confident, familiar. Emmanuel blinked rapidly, his vision still foggy from strangulation, but as the figure stepped into the clearing, sunlight hit the man's face. Amara gasped. Papa! Emmanuel's eyes widened. Standing there, holding a worn-out hunting shotgun, was Chief Okshikwu, Amara's father. A tall, broad-shouldered, gray-bearded man known throughout the village for two things, his strictness and his quiet wisdom. He was wearing his usual faded brown shirt, farm trousers, and rubber sandals, but his stance radiated authority. He had heard the commotion, and he had come prepared. That is enough, Chief Okshikwu said, his voice booming like thunder. Touch my daughter again and you will not walk out of this forest alive. The attackers exchanged glances. Though armed with knives and sticks, none dared take a step toward a loaded firearm pointed squarely at their chests. One raised his hand slowly. Old man, this is not your fight. Chief Okshikwu cocked the gun. It became my fight the moment you grabbed my child. The men backed up slightly, but their leader scowled. He gestured sharply and the others began edging toward the trees, planning to escape. Before they could vanish, Chief barked. Drop your weapons. Reluctantly, the men tossed their knives and clubs to the ground. Once they disappeared into the forest, Chief lowered the gun, but did not relax. Amara rushed into his arms trembling. Papa, they tried to take us. He held her tight. I know, my child, I heard shouting from the farmland, I followed your voices. Then he turned to Emmanuel. You, Chief said, his tone deepening, have some explaining to do. Emmanuel, still catching his breath, swallowed hard. I know, he said quietly, and I won't run anymore, you deserve the truth. Chief Okshikwu helped him to his feet. Even now, even after seeing Emmanuel fight like a trained soldier, even after watching strangers attempt a kidnapping, Chief remained steady, controlled, unreadable. They walked back toward the abandoned charcoal hut and settled under the shade of a large Iroko tree. Amara stayed close to Emmanuel, though confusion still clouded her eyes. Chief leaned on the shotgun and spoke. Who are those men, and why do they want you dead? Emmanuel looked from Amara to her father, then took a long, slow breath. My real name is Emmanuel Cole. I'm the only son of Marcus Cole, billionaire and head of Cole Holdings. Chief's eyebrow twitched the slightest bit. So the rumors are true, you're one of those Coles. Amara stared at Emmanuel, hurt flickering behind her tears. And you hid that from me, she whispered. Chief raised a hand. Let him finish. Emmanuel continued. About 2 years ago, someone inside my father's company began plotting to take over everything. They needed me out of the way. A threat letter was left for me, then my car brakes were tampered with. Someone tried poisoning my chef. A cousin even pretended to shoot me by accident. Chief shook his head. Greed, it destroys families. I knew staying in the city meant walking into death, Emmanuel said. So I disappeared. I came here hoping to blend in, live simply, and stay alive long enough to discover who was behind everything. Amara wiped her eyes. And you pretended to be a farmer. He nodded. It was the safest disguise. No one would guess a billionaire heir was tilling land with villagers. But falling in love with my daughter, Chief said slowly, that wasn't part of your plan. No, sir, Emmanuel replied, eyes softening. I didn't expect it, I didn't want it at first, but Amara, she saw me, not the billionaire, not the heir, she loved me for my hands, not my inheritance. Amara looked away, her chest rising and falling quickly. Chief Okshikwu studied them both. So these men, they came to take you, to cripple your father's empire. Yes, but they plan to take Amara too, Emmanuel's voice hardened. That means whoever is targeting me has grown desperate and ruthless. Chief rubbed his chin thoughtfully. If Amara is now a target, we cannot remain in this village. Emmanuel nodded. I know, they will return stronger. Amara looked between them anxiously. So where will we go? What about Mama? She's sick. Emmanuel touched her hand gently. I swear on my life I will take care of your mother. I have the resources to do it, but right now we must get you to safety first. Chief exhaled deeply. There is one place, he said quietly, where even hunters fear to search. Emmanuel leaned forward. Where? A remote farmland deep in the Ower Valley. I own land there, far from the road, far from prying eyes. If we move before sunset, we can reach it by night. Emmanuel looked relieved, but then the forest rustled sharply. All three turned. Leaves trembled. Twigs snapped. Amara clutched her father's arm. Papa, are they coming back? Chief raised the shotgun again. But instead of attackers, a small figure stumbled out of the bushes. A teenage boy panting heavily, sweat dripping down his forehead. Chief Okshikwu, the boy cried, you must come quickly. Chief lowered the gun slightly but kept his guard up. What is it? The boy swallowed hard. It's Mama, your wife. Amara froze. A cold shock ran down her spine. Your wife collapsed in the market, the boy said breathlessly. They said she fainted suddenly, she's not waking up. Amara screamed. Mama! Chief immediately grabbed the boy's shoulders. Where is she now? They took her to the old clinic, the boy replied, but Chief, the nurse said it is serious. Emmanuel stood up at once, heart pounding. Everything had already been spiraling out of control, but this was something none of them expected. Amara burst into tears. No, not Mama, not now. Chief's face tightened in fear. But the boy wasn't finished. And Chief, he added, voice shaky, there were two strange men asking about Emmanuel at the clinic. They said they know he will come. Emmanuel's blood turned cold. The enemies were already waiting. At the clinic, where Amara's mother now fought for her life. Everything collided at once: danger, illness, betrayal, and time running out. Chief gripped his shotgun. We move now. But as they ran through the forest path toward the village, none of them knew the trap waiting ahead. A trap far more deadly than the last.
If this story is already touching your heart, please take 1 second to like this video, subscribe to Black Race Tailies, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us keep telling these powerful African and Black community stories to the world.
The run back to the village felt endless. Branches cut against their arms, the forest floor shook beneath their feet. Every step carried fear, fear for Amara's mother, fear of the men hunting Emmanuel, fear of what waited at the clinic. Amara ran ahead, her breath sharp and uneven. Please let Mama be okay, she whispered over and over like a prayer. Chief Okshakwu and Emmanuel followed closely, both scanning the surroundings as they moved. The boy who delivered the message ran beside them, leading the way. As they approached the edge of the village, Emmanuel slowed his pace. Chief, he whispered urgently, if those men are waiting for me, they'll try to use your wife to lure us in. Chief nodded grimly. I know, but we cannot leave her alone. The boy pointed ahead. The clinic is just behind that mango tree. The clinic, a small, aging building painted light green, stood quietly in the distance. Villagers gathered outside in anxious clusters, murmuring among themselves. No visible danger, no attackers in sight. But Emmanuel didn't trust the silence. They moved cautiously toward the entrance. A nurse in her late 40s, Nurse Ada, ran to meet them. Chief Okshakwu, thank goodness you're here. Amara rushed forward. Mama, where is she? Is she breathing? Can I see her? Nurse Ada placed a hand on her shoulder. She's stable for now, but we need to talk. Come inside. They followed her through the dim hallway, the smell of antiseptic filling the air. Nurse Ada led them to a small room where Amara's mother, Mama Ifoma, lay quietly on a bed. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. Amara collapsed beside her, taking her hand. Mama, I'm here, please wake up. Mama Ifoma didn't respond. Nurse Ada cleared her throat and spoke carefully. She fainted due to severe stress and untreated high blood pressure. She has been hiding symptoms for weeks. She needs proper treatment, medication, and monitoring, things we do not have here. She must be moved to the city hospital tonight. Amara's eyes widened with panic. But that costs money. I'll pay, Emmanuel cut in without hesitation. Chief Okshakwu shot him a look, half grateful, half wary. Nurse Ada continued. But there is another issue. 2 men came earlier asking for someone named Emmanuel. Amara stiffened. Chief gripped his gun. Emmanuel stepped forward. What did they look like? Nurse Ada frowned. One was tall with a cap pulled low, the other had a long scar on his arm. They said they were friends looking for you. Emmanuel's jaw tightened. Those are not my friends. If they return, you must not tell them anything. It's dangerous. Nurse Ada nodded nervously. I sensed something was off. After they left, I locked the clinic gates. Amara looked at Emmanuel, tears streaming. Why won't they leave you alone? Why must danger follow us everywhere? Emmanuel knelt beside her. I'm sorry, Amara, but right now your mother's safety comes first. We need to get her out of here before they come back. Chief Okshakwu stepped aside, thinking deeply. The weight of everything pulled heavily on his face. We cannot wait for night, he finally said. If they suspect Emmanuel will come here, they may return any minute. As if summoned by his words, a loud bang exploded from outside the clinic. Then another. Then a third. Villagers screamed. Nurse Ada's face went pale. Oh no, they're back. Chief grabbed his shotgun and ran to the window. Emmanuel joined him. 3 men stood outside the clinic gate, different from the earlier attackers, wearing black shirts and gloves. They were breaking the lock. One turned and shouted, spread out, the billionaire is inside, get him and the girl. Emmanuel's heart froze. They know Amara is here too, he whispered. Amara clutched her mother protectively. No, not here, not while Mama is lying helpless. Chief Okshikwu quickly devised a plan. Emmanuel, follow me, we will distract them. Nurse Ada, take Amara and her mother to the back exit. The old abandoned shed behind the clinic still has a cart. Use it to move Ifoma quietly. Once outside, run straight toward the small stream path. We will join you there. Nurse Ada nodded firmly. Amara stood shakily. But Papa. No time, Chief snapped. Move. The attackers broke the gate completely. Chief positioned himself behind the hallway wall, shotgun raised. Emmanuel picked up a heavy metal pipe from under a bed, makeshift but strong. Footsteps pounded inside the clinic. The first attacker entered the hallway. Bam! Chief fired into the air to scare them, causing all three men to duck in panic. Emmanuel dashed forward, swinging the metal pipe and striking the second man's arm. The attacker howled, dropping his weapon. The third man lunged at Emmanuel with a knife. Amara screamed from the back room. Emmanuel blocked the attack, muscles flexing as he twisted the man's wrist until the knife clattered to the floor. Chief stepped forward, slamming the butt of his shotgun against the attacker's ribs. Two men fell. But the third, hidden behind a pillar, charged toward the patient room. The girl, he shouted. Amara turned, eyes wide. Before he reached her, Emmanuel grabbed him from behind and hurled him into a medical cabinet. Glass shattered everywhere. You will not touch her, Emmanuel growled. Chief fired another warning shot. The attackers scrambled, crawling toward the exit. But Emmanuel stood in the doorway, blocking them. Leave now, he warned, or stay and face me. They stumbled out, fear overpowering their mission. Chief shut the clinic door and bolted it. Nurse Ada appeared breathless. We must go now, before they come with reinforcements. She had already placed Mama Ifoma onto a wooden wheelbarrow-like clinic cart. Amara held tightly to the side. Mama, please stay with us. Emmanuel walked beside her. We'll keep her safe, Amara, I promise. They slipped out through the back exit and pushed the cart down the narrow path that led to the stream. But halfway there, a figure stepped into their path. A man with sunglasses, dressed in black, carrying a walkie-talkie. He smiled slowly. Well, looks like I caught more than I expected. Chief raised the gun immediately. But the man didn't flinch. I wouldn't shoot if I were you, he said calmly, tapping his walkie-talkie. My men are surrounding this entire area. One wrong move and the girl dies first. Amara gasped. Emmanuel stepped protectively in front of her. Then, the man reached into his pocket and held up something. A picture. A picture of Emmanuel and Amara together in the forest days earlier. Proof they were being watched long before today. I've waited a long time for this moment, the man said coldly, and my boss will reward me greatly for bringing you in. He paused, smiling wider. All three of you. The man with the sunglasses stood perfectly still, blocking the narrow path like a gatekeeper of doom. His smile remained calm but dangerously confident, too confident for a man supposedly alone. Emmanuel's mind raced. If this man truly had backup hidden around the clinic area, then any sudden move could put Amara, her mother, and Chief Okshikwu in grave danger. Chief kept his shotgun raised, but the man slowly lifted a hand. I wouldn't pull that trigger if I were you, Chief, he said lazily. You fire, they fire, you survive, but your daughter doesn't. Amara's grip on the clinic cart tightened. Papa, what do we do? Chief swallowed, eyes sharp but calculating. Emmanuel, however, took a step forward. If you want me, let them go, he said firmly. Your fight is with me, leave Amara and her family out of this. The man chuckled. Oh, noble, predictable too, but no, the boss wants leverage, and nothing breaks a man more effectively than watching the people he loves suffer. Emmanuel clenched his fists. This man knew exactly what buttons to press. Nurse Ada trembled beside the cart, whispering prayers under her breath. Mama Ifoma still lay unconscious, unaware of the danger surrounding her. The man lifted his walkie-talkie and pressed a button. Team 1, confirm visual. A voice crackled on the other end. Confirmed target in sight. Amara's heart raced. They're everywhere. Emmanuel quickly assessed the surroundings. The narrow path meant they had little room to maneuver, but the thick bushes on either side were dense and dark, offering hiding places for both enemies and possible escape. The man began walking toward Emmanuel. "You know," he said casually, "your father has been very difficult. He refuses to surrender control of the coal empire, but once you're gone, he won't have a choice." Emmanuel didn't blink. "If you harm these people, I swear." "You swear what?" the man asked mockingly. "That you'll fight, that you'll win. You forget there are more of us than you can handle." Chief Ochukwu steadied his shotgun. "Young man, I have lived through war. Do not mistake this gray hair for weakness." The man smirked. "Your bravery is touching, but useless." He raised his fingers. A signal. From the bushes, two men emerged with guns pointed directly at Emmanuel and Chief. Amara let out a choked gasp. This was worse than before. The attackers were more organized, more prepared, more determined. The sunglasses man nodded approvingly at his men. "Good, now here, what we'll do. Emmanuel, you're coming with us. The girl stays, the old man stays, the sick woman, well, she's of no use to us." Amara's eyes widened in horror. "No, you can't leave my mother here, she needs help." He ignored her completely. Emmanuel took another step forward, raising both hands slowly. "Let them go, I'll go with you willingly, just let them walk away unharmed." "Oh, you'll come along," the man replied. "But they're not going anywhere, we need them as pressure points in case you misbehave." Chief's grip tightened on the shotgun, his finger hovered dangerously close to the trigger. Emmanuel noticed. "Chief, please," he murmured, "not yet." But the man in sunglasses heard. "You think he won't fire?" he asked. "Old men are emotional, reckless, all it takes is one squeeze." Chief inhaled sharply, rage swirled in his eyes. And then, Chief Ochukwu fired. The shot exploded through the air, dust erupting from the ground right in front of the gunman's feet. It wasn't aimed to kill, it was a warning shot. A loud one. The two armed men flinched. Emmanuel reacted instantly. He lunged at the sunglasses man, slamming him against a tree with full force. The man dropped his walkie-talkie and it shattered on the ground. Chief fired again, this time aiming at the bushes to scatter the hidden attackers. "Run," Chief shouted. Nurse Ada pushed the cart with trembling strength. Amara grabbed her mother's arms to keep her steady. "Gio," Emmanuel repeated. Chaos erupted. The attackers sprang from cover, bullets flying wildly, forcing Chief to duck behind a tree. Emmanuel delivered a crushing blow to one assailant, sending him tumbling into the undergrowth. But the sunglasses man recovered quickly. He pulled out a knife and swung at Emmanuel. The blade grazed Emmanuel's arm, slicing his skin. He hissed in pain but retaliated with a powerful punch that cracked the man's sunglasses and sent him staggering back. Chief shouted from behind a mound of earth. "Emmanuel, fall back." But Emmanuel couldn't, not yet. The path ahead was blocked by two more men charging toward Amara and Nurse Ada. Without hesitation, Emmanuel sprinted toward them. The first attacker reached for Amara's hair, but Emmanuel grabbed the man's shirt and threw him into a pile of rocks. The second swung a gun like a club. Emmanuel ducked, swept the man's legs, and knocked him cold with a fist to the jaw. "Keep moving," he yelled. Amara didn't hesitate this time. They pushed the cart faster, tears blurring her vision, fear tightening her chest. But just as they reached the small wooden bridge over the stream, bam! A bullet struck the wooden plank under the wheel, splintering it violently. The cart lurched dangerously. "Mama!" Amara screamed. Emmanuel jumped forward and caught the cart before it tipped over completely. Chief ran up behind them, breathing heavily. "We don't have long," he warned. The forest echoed with more footsteps, reinforcements coming. Emmanuel grabbed the handles of the cart himself. "Follow me, there's a narrow path ahead, they won't fit through with their weapons." They dashed across the bridge, splinters snapping with each step, and disappeared into the tight trail hidden behind tall elephant grass. The attackers reached the stream seconds later, but the narrow trail was too tight for them to navigate easily. Emmanuel knew they had only bought minutes, not safety. They kept pushing until they reached a clearing near an old abandoned storehouse. Nurse Ada collapsed to her knees, panting. "I can't go further." Chief placed a hand on her back. "You've done well, rest." Amara knelt beside her unconscious mother. Mama, please wake up. Emmanuel tore a piece of cloth from his shirt to bandage his wounded arm. His muscles trembled with exhaustion. But when he looked back at Amara, he froze. She was staring at him not with fear this time but with something deeper, something heartbreaking. "You could have run," she whispered. "You could have saved yourself, but you stayed for us." He stepped closer, voice soft and steady. "I will always stay for you." Before she could respond, Chief raised his hand. "Quiet." Everyone turned. Leaves rustled. Footsteps approached. Slow, steady. Emmanuel reached for a broken shovel handle on the ground. Chief raised a shotgun again. Amara stood protectively in front of her mother. Then, a familiar voice called from the trees. "Emmanuel, Chief. Are you there?" It wasn't an attacker. It was someone they least expected. Someone who wasn't even supposed to be in the village. Emmanuel's personal bodyguard, Jamal, had found them. Jamal burst into the clearing like a man who had been running for hours. Sweat soaked through his black security shirt and his chest rose and fell heavily. But his eyes, sharp, alert, and filled with urgency, locked immediately onto Emmanuel. "There you are," he panted. "I've been tracking you since dawn." Emmanuel stepped forward, stunned. "Jamal, what are you doing here? I told you to stay with my father." "I couldn't," Jamal cut in. "Things back home escalated fast." Chief Okchukwu lowered his shotgun slightly, still cautious but aware that this man was not an enemy. Amara stared at Jamal, confused but relieved to see someone who clearly knew Emmanuel well. Jamal walked closer, lowering his voice. "We have a serious problem. Your father, he's missing." Emmanuel froze. Everything inside him went cold. "What do you mean missing?" he demanded. "My father had 3 layers of private security. No one should have gotten near him." Jamal nodded grimly. "That's what we thought, but last night all communication from Cole Mansion went dead. Security feeds were disconnected, and when I arrived this morning the house was empty, guards tied up, doors forced open." Chief muttered a low curse under his breath. Amara's eyes widened. "So the people chasing us. They're part of something bigger," Jamal replied. "Much bigger, and Emmanuel, they left a message behind." Emmanuel's heart pounded. "What message?" Jamal reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded note, identical in style to the one Emmanuel had received years ago. He handed it over. Emmanuel unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. Only 5 words were written inside. "The heir must choose now." Emmanuel closed his eyes, pain tightening his jaw. The message was clear. They had escalated their plan using both his father and Amara as leverage. Amara stepped forward. Choose what?" Emmanuel looked at her, his voice low. "They want control of my father's empire, and they think hurting the people I love will force me to surrender." Jamal placed a hand on his shoulder. "There's more. We intercepted a communication. They know you're in this area. They have a new plan to take you, your wife-to-be, and her father all at once. They're done playing." Emmanuel clenched his fists. "We can't stay here." "No," Jamal agreed. "We need to move your fiancée and her mother somewhere secure and fast." Chief cleared his throat. "I have farmland deep in the Ower Valley, hidden, difficult to reach." Jamal nodded quickly. "That's perfect, but we must get there before nightfall. Once darkness settles, their drones and trackers will cover everything." Amara trembled slightly. "Emmanuel, will they really hurt Mama?" He stepped closer, gently taking her face in his hands. "I will not let anything happen to her, or to you." Her eyes softened, but a shadow of fear still lingered. Jamal surveyed the group. "Let's move, I'll take the front. Chief, you cover the back. Emmanuel, stay with Amara and the mother." They began moving through the tall grass toward a narrow escape route Jamal had scouted. The air grew heavier with tension, every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps, every bird call felt like a signal. Mama Ifoma remained unconscious, but her breathing had steadied slightly. Amara stayed beside her mother with unwavering focus, whispering prayers. For a short while they moved without interruption. But suddenly, Jamal raised his hand sharply. Everyone stopped. He crouched low, studied the ground, and frowned. "What is it?" Emmanuel whispered. Jamal pointed at a set of fresh footprints. They found us faster than expected. These tracks are recent, very recent. Chief gripped his shotgun tighter. Then we don't have time to waste. They pressed forward again, faster now. But as they reached a fork in the forest, a chilling sound echoed overhead. A drone. A small black quadcopter hovered above the trees, scanning the area with a red sensor light. It circled slowly, then tilted in their direction. Amara gasped. They found us. Jamal hissed, get under the trees, move. The thick canopy of the larger Iroko trees temporarily shielded them from the drone's camera, but not for long. They'll send ground units next, Jamal warned. We need to split up temporarily. No, Emmanuel argued, splitting up will only make us vulnerable. Jamal shook his head. I know you don't like it, but right now they're tracking numbers. If we stay together, we're easier to corner. Chief nodded thoughtfully. He's right, the girl and her mother will slow you down. I'll take them through the hidden left path toward Ower Valley. You two draw the attackers away. Amara panicked. No, Papa, I cannot leave Emmanuel. Chief gripped her shoulders tightly. Amara, listen to me, you are my daughter. It is my duty to protect you. Emmanuel is strong, he will meet us on the other side. She looked at Emmanuel, fear in her eyes. He stepped forward, lifting her chin gently. I will find you, he promised. Nothing on this earth will keep me from you. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but she nodded. Jamal quickly divided them. Chief and Nurse Ada guided the cart carrying Mama Ifoma toward the left path, hidden behind dense shrubs. Amara took one last look at Emmanuel before following her father, clutching her mother's hand. Once they disappeared into the foliage, Jamal turned to Emmanuel. We lead them the other way. Emmanuel nodded, muscles tense. They sprinted down the right path, allowing themselves to be seen by the drone the moment they broke free of the trees. The drone beeped loudly. Jamal smirked. Good, now they'll chase us instead. But as they reached a rocky clearing, Emmanuel heard it. Rustling. Fast footsteps. Many. Jamal heard it too and froze. Emmanuel whispered, they're surrounding us. Then, figures stepped out from between the trees. 10-15, maybe more. Each armed. Each wearing black. At the center stood a tall man with silver hair and a cruel smile. You've caused us enough trouble, Emmanuel Cole, the man said. Your father is already in our custody, and now it's your turn. Emmanuel stepped in front of Jamal, eyes blazing with rage. What do you want? The man smiled wider. Your empire, your signature, your surrender. Jamal raised his weapon. But the silver-haired man lifted a hand. Drop it or your fiancée dies. We intercepted her location minutes ago. She is walking straight into our trap. Emmanuel's heart stopped. Lies, he whispered. Oh, it's not, the man replied casually. In fact, she and her sick mother are being escorted right into a dead zone where no one escapes. Emmanuel lunged forward, fury exploding in his chest. What have you done to her? The silver-haired man grinned. Nothing yet, but unless you give yourself up now, she won't live long enough to see sunrise. The forest spun. His pulse roared. His breath vanished. They had Amara in their sights. And he was trapped. The gunshot tore through the clearing with a force so sharp it silenced every breath in the forest. Birds scattered from the trees, leaves trembled, and for a split second everyone froze, eyes wide, muscles stiff, hearts pounding. Then the screaming began. One of the armed men who had been pointing a gun at Amara stumbled backward, clutching his shoulder. Blood poured between his fingers. He fell to the ground with a sharp cry. The bullet had not hit Amara. It had been aimed at her attacker. The silver-haired leader spun around in fury. Who fired that? But the forest remained eerily silent. Emmanuel didn't hesitate. The moment the attacker fell, he lunged at the second man, threatening Amara. His fist connected with the man's jaw so forcefully that the attacker spun sideways and collapsed. Emmanuel grabbed his gun before it hit the ground and rolled into a defensive stance. Amara, get down, he shouted. Amara dropped to her knees beside her unconscious mother as Chief Okshikwu shielded them with his body. Nurse Ada covered Mama Ifoma with her own arms. For the first time, Emmanuel saw fear flicker in the silver-haired leader's eyes. He didn't know who had fired the mysterious shot either. Jamal used the confusion to his advantage. He activated the tactical flash charge and threw it. A deafening boom erupted, followed by blinding white light. The attackers screamed, stumbling backward in confusion, their vision scrambling, the forest filled with choking dust and panicked shouts. "Move!" Jamal roared. Emmanuel rushed toward Amara, pulling her to her feet. "We have to get out of here now." Chief Okshakwu grabbed the clinic cart handles, pushing with renewed strength. "Lead the way." The forest path ahead was narrow, but Jamal sprinted in front to clear the way. Behind them, the attackers were still blinded, screaming threats, firing randomly into the trees. But the silver-haired leader recovered first. He wasn't like the others. He lifted his gun, aimed blindly, and fired. Bang! The bullet grazed Emmanuel's side, tearing through his shirt. He grunted but didn't fall. Amara screamed. "Emmanuel!" "I'm fine," he shouted through clenched teeth. "Just keep moving." The group pushed forward, the forest shaking beneath their frantic steps. Then, a deep voice echoed from ahead. "Stop right there." Everyone skidded to a halt. The air shifted. From behind a cluster of large stones, a tall, stern-looking man emerged, holding a gun pointed at the entire group. Emmanuel froze. So did Jamal. So did Amara. Because they knew that face. That voice. That posture. It was Marcus Cole. Emmanuel's father. Alive. Breathing. And standing with a weapon aimed at his own son. Emmanuel's voice cracked. "Dad." Marcus lowered the gun slightly, his chest rising and falling. "Son, I had no choice," he said quietly. "They took me 2 nights ago, they held me hostage, they made me watch as they prepared to hunt you, but when the chance came to escape, I took it." Amara blinked through tears. "You're alive, thank God." Jamal snapped into a defensive stance. "Sir, are you injured? Did they follow you?" Marcus nodded grimly. "Yes, they're close behind, we must hurry or none of us will make it out alive." Before anyone could respond, the silver-haired leader's voice echoed from behind them. "Ah, Marcus Cole, you never could stay where you were put." Everyone turned. The attackers had regrouped and were now approaching slowly, though still unsteady from the flash. Marcus's jaw tightened. "I should have known you were behind this, Victor." "Victor!" The silver-haired man finally had a name. Victor smiled cruelly. "Your empire was wasted on you, Marcus. I told you years ago that I would build something better, stronger, but you refused to cooperate, so now your son will be the key to everything." Marcus stepped forward protectively. "You will not touch him." But Victor laughed like a man who held all the cards. "Oh, Marcus, you still don't understand. This isn't about your son anymore." He snapped his fingers. 3 attackers stepped forward, dragging someone between them. When Amara saw who it was, she felt the ground tilt beneath her. It was the boy who had come earlier to deliver the message about her mother fainting. His face was bruised, his shirt torn, his hands tied. Victor smirked. "This boy here told us everything: your sick wife, your daughter, the clinic, even your escape route." Chief Okshakwu's eyes burned red. "You tortured a child." Emmanuel's rage erupted like fire. "You monster." "Oh please," Victor cut in, "spare me the theatrics. What matters now is simple. You're all surrounded, you have nowhere to run, and you," he pointed at Emmanuel, "will sign the documents we brought or everyone you love dies." Marcus raised his gun. "You'll have to shoot me first." Victor smiled calmly. "As you wish." He aimed. Time slowed. Emmanuel lunged. Jamal fired. Chief cocked his shotgun. Marcus stepped in front of Emmanuel. Amara screamed. Then, gunfire exploded in every direction. Branches shattered, bullets ricocheted, the forest roared with violence. Victor tried to shoot, but Jamal tackled him to the ground. Emmanuel struck one of the attackers with brutal precision. Chief fired twice, dropping 2 men instantly. Marcus shielded Amara and Nurse Ada behind a fallen tree. The boy tied up managed to roll to safety behind a rock. Victor fought Jamal viciously, punching, kicking, clawing like a man possessed. "You fool," Victor shouted, "you think you can protect him forever." Jamal slammed him into the dirt. "Yes, I do." Emmanuel ran toward them just as Victor broke free, grabbed a fallen gun and aimed at Amara. Everything froze. Emmanuel's voice shattered the air. No! He launched himself between Victor and Amara. At the exact moment Victor pulled the trigger. But the bullet never touched Emmanuel. A louder gunshot blasted through the trees. Victor jerked backward violently and collapsed onto the ground, lifeless. Everyone turned. Marcus Cole stood tall, his gun smoking, his eyes fierce. That, Marcus said quietly, was for threatening my family. Silence filled the clearing as the last of the attackers fled into the forest, broken and defeated. Emmanuel rushed to Amara and pulled her into his arms. She burst into tears against his chest. You're safe, he whispered, voice trembling. Jamal exhaled deeply, lowering his weapon. Chief Okchukwu knelt beside the freed boy and checked his injuries. Nurse Ada clutched Mama Ifoma's hand. Marcus put a hand on his son's shoulder. You did well, Emmanuel, you protected what mattered. And for the first time in years, father and son embraced. Later, after Mama Ifoma was taken to the city hospital, where Emmanuel paid for her full treatment, and after legal authorities arrested the rest of Victor's organization, Emmanuel finally stood before Amara in a small, peaceful garden. He held her hands gently. Amara, he said softly, I hid who I was because I wanted to be loved as a man, not a billionaire, and you proved that real love exists. You found me when I was nobody. Will you stay with me now that you know everything? She smiled through tears. I didn't fall in love with your money, I fell in love with you, the man who worked, protected, and loved without pride. Under the warm evening sun, Emmanuel kissed her forehead. And the next week, in a quiet ceremony attended by both families, they were finally married, with no secrets left. A billionaire. A farmer. A husband. A wife. A love that survived danger, deception, and destiny. Their story had only just begun.